Hoi Ryzen, how you going? This is Dragon's Dogma 2, overlooked mechanics, secrets and details the game doesn't tell you about part 4, probably the last one in the series. If you haven't seen the other 3, check them out, some pretty interesting information over there. And as always, if you have anything to add, leave me a comment. Also, I have a couple of questions towards the end of the video in regards to this channel's trajectory, content-wise. I'd like to hear your opinion, so if you're interested, check it out. And of course, I'm planning to cover every Dragon's Dogma 2 update that comes in the future, so if you don't want to miss that, subscribe to the channel now. Thank you very much. Number 10. Some enemies drop hair dyes. In the previous video, we talked about dyes you can buy from this NPC Alexia in Battahl. They are used to change your Arizen's and your main pawn's hair color. Apparently, some of the dyes can be pilfered or just looted from enemies. For example, there's a chance to get purple dye from Asps, poison variants of Saurians in Battahl. I'm not sure if there are other enemies in the game that drop dyes, but I know that some can be pilfered from various NPCs. For example, the yellow one can be stolen from Celeste, weapons and armor merchant in Checkpoint Rest Town. This one's not a big deal, you can purchase them all from Alexia anyways, and they're quite cheap, 500 rift crystals each. But it's nice that there's an alternative way to obtain them, so if you know where to get the rest of the dyes, please let me know because I want to know everything about the game. Number 9. There are numerous ways to get to Battahl and Volcanic Island early. Most of you know about it already, but I still want to mention it because there's a chance you missed at least one of the routes. The first one is through Guerco Cavern. It's a pretty small cave that brings you to the northwestern side of Battahl, relatively close to where the Dragon Forged is. It's very straightforward. The second one is through the mountain pass west of Checkpoint Rest Town. Leaving the town, walk over the bridge and jump down into the riverbed, then head west and follow the river. This route goes through one of my most favorite locations in the game. It's just so beautiful, it looks like Scotland. The weather there is scripted, at least I think it is. It's always raining there. There are also a few cool boss encounters that I don't want to spoil in case you haven't been there. And also the mountain pass is connected to the location where you do the second half of the Sphinx's quest. And the third way is to get into this fancy ox cart when it passes through the town. This one's quite goofy because everyone's like aware that you're inside the cart. They even keep asking you to get off, but this method still works. If you don't want to get attacked by the guards, wait for the cart to go deeper in. Though if you're crossing the border to get to Battahl, the city, you can save yourself some time by getting off early and letting the guards arrest you.
As you command, Arisen.
You will then be teleported into Battahl jail. From Battahl, you can also reach the Volcanic Island by going through Drabnir's Grotto. It's a pretty big dungeon that will eventually spit you out on the island relatively close to Gustafer's house. Anyways, unlocking Battahl and Volcanic Island early is very handy when you're doing a new game plus. Just go there and place your port crystals where you need them to have access to important merchants and blacksmiths early on. Number 8. Infinite Saurian Tails. There's an obscure NPC in Battahl who sells infinite Saurian tails. His name is Emmerich and he only appears at night. It stands here next to these dye basins. It's actually very easy to miss him and some people report that he sometimes doesn't show up. When you initiate the dialogue, he offers you 5 Saurian tails for 2,500 gold, and I don't know if it's a bug, but you can buy from him indefinitely. You don't have to skip time whatsoever. Get 5 tails, start a new dialogue to get another 5 and so on. A Saurian tail is a very handy mat you need to craft more potent healing items. For example, combining it with the Fruit Roborant that heals 550 health, you get the Exquisite Roborant that restores 1200 health and 600 stamina on top of that. Interacting with Emmerich is probably the easiest way to stack up on Saurian tails. Some people say that Emmerich only appears after a certain point in the story, but in this playthrough I haven't even done a single Captain Brant's request, yet he shows up every single time. I'm a new game plus though, so that could be the case. Also note that you can get the Mask of Concealment from Emmerich if you intimidate him, as in like punch him in the face. That didn't work for me, so I tried everything. I tried punching him, I tried attacking him with my weapons, I tried stealing from him. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. So if you know the correct way to do it, please let me know in the comments. And also number 8 brings us to number 7. You can use the Mask of Concealment to freely explore the Forbidden Magic Research Lab early. If you, just like myself, failed to get it from Emmerich, there's a merchant George in Checkpoint Rest Town who sells it for 6,210 gold. That's where I got it. He usually hangs out next to the ox cart. Similar to Marcher's set that lets you explore Vernworth Castle, Mask of Concealment lets you explore the Forbidden Magic Research Lab, where you can get some useful items. Prescribed Tranquility, for example, is a grimoire that invokes Solemnity, a silencing spell. Very useful against liches, wights, and drakes. And it's pretty rare. I'm not sure you can buy it from any merchant in the game. As far as I know, the research lab is the only place where you are guaranteed to get a copy. And I also know that wights sometimes drop it, but that's it. Number 6, this one's quite goofy and not really useful, but you don't have to wait for nightfall to talk to Captain Brant. If you need to talk to him during the day instead of sleeping, you can just find him. He's at the guardhouse where you first met him and carry him over to the pub. That's what I used to do with my friends like 10 years ago. I'm not proud of that. Apparently Brant's dialogue depends on location, not time of day, so you have to be very precise and bring him to the secret spot on the balcony. If he steps out of the balcony boundaries, it's a no-go. Too many people, too many ears. This one looks like an oversight, like a little bug. It will probably be patched sometime in the future. Number 5, silencing spells stop enemies from casting. Like, very obvious. Duh, Melvo. This is what they're for. Come on. But did you know though that silencing spells also knock drakes down from the sky, preventing them from flying away? Even if they are not casting anything, just doing their like Drake spinny moves in the air, you can cast High Solemnity, for example, knocking them down and stunning them briefly. This is definitely my oversight. I didn't like playing as a mage very much, and I completely overlooked the Solemnity spell when having a mage pawn in my party, but it's just so useful against drakes and makes fights with them so much easier. Like I said, you can not only prevent them from casting their bloody meteorons, you can knock them down when they're in the air. With liches though, silencing knocks them down only when they cast. You can't knock them down when they're just flying around, but the status lasts longer than with drakes. Also, this is where Prescribed Tranquility comes in handy if you are not a mage or don't have a mage with Solemnity spell in your group.
They're attacked.
As we know, grimoires can be used by every vocation, so don't sleep on this mechanic, it might save you a lot of time. Number 4, you can pilfer platinum brothel cards from some NPCs as a thief. Lionel, an innkeeper from Checkpoint Rest Town, has one. The beggar from Vernworth also has one.
That looks promising.
You can sell them for 15k each, though I'm pretty sure there are vendors in the game that will offer more gold for them. But the card is an item that can be obtained through other means by using brothel services a few times. There's a guard that gives you one in exchange for a staff. It's not a unique item. Though if you use Pilfer on Quinn Regent Disa, you get Salamander Mask. This one's a unique item and can only be obtained by stealing it from Disa. Shout out to Leo Draco for this one, by the way. Cheers for the tip. So there are numerous Pilfer only items in the game. Lordly Eye Patch could be one of them, I guess. Nobody knows how to get it still after 2 months. There's an NPC, Eliza, one of the 4 guards of Fake Sovereign, who wears a Lordly Eye Patch, but as far as I know, there's no way to steal it from her. It's a mystery. You can meet Capcom made pawns wearing it, but I haven't seen it on player made pawns, so it's either an item that didn't make it into the game as an obtainable item, or it's just masterfully hidden in some shithole. Number 3, you can lure griffins by killing oxen. Just like you can drop meat as decoy to distract wolves, you can bait a griffin and force it to land if you kill an oxen and wait next to the corpse. Now this one needs to be tested further. It's really hard to confirm if it really works, so take it with a grain of salt. But I'd say 9 times out of 10, when you do that, a griffin spawns and lands on top of you. I guess it could be a coincidence because griffins do hunt oxen anyways, but like I said, it works for me and will probably work for you too. Very handy if you work on the griffin pawn badge. Number 2, pity hires. Say, have you seen these absolutely dumb pawn quests like you give me Port Crystal, I give you Apple? Yeah, it can be quite annoying, but it is in fact a strategic decision made by the fellow Arisen. So if your pawn doesn't get hired very often, sometimes these dummy accounts hire them. You can't see the info on the Arisen, their pawn, you can't check out their account information. They even send you gifts, leave likes and hearts, and finish your pawn quests. So when you meet pawns with ridiculous quests like that, it's probably due to their Arisen aiming for a pity hire to get a valuable functional item like a port crystal basically for free. I don't know how I feel about it, but when you are level 100 or higher, your pawn doesn't get hired very often because it's very expensive for lower level players and most of the people stop playing after a while, so Capcom hiring your pawn out of pity because no one else does makes it easier to farm pawn badges when you are higher level. A Sphinx badge is a perfect example. And finally, number 1, non-quest grimoires make fully functional copies when forging them at Ibrahim's scrap shop. Shout out to Aster C for the tip, I didn't know that. As you know, there are 5 grimoires in the game that are considered quest items: Fulminous Shield, Nation's Death Knell, Howling Blizzard, Towering Earth, and Let There Be Light. You need these to finish either Spellbound quest or the Sorcerer's Appraisal, and when forging them at Ibrahim's you get dummy copies with funny names. That kinda makes you think that there's no point in forging other grimoires as well, but as I mentioned earlier, you can't dupe them and get fully functional copies. Aster C in their comment mentions Prescribed Tranquility, a very rare grimoire, and I can't agree more. It's very useful when fighting drakes and wights, and knowing that you can dupe it and carry multiple copies makes your life so much easier, especially if you're not a mage, don't have a mage in your group, or your mage is incapacitated. And a few bonus facts for you. Old pawns do not disappear when you start a new game. If you know your previous pawn's ID, you can find them in the Rift and hire them. With enough time on your hands, you can even create a custom party consisting of your created pawns. Orcs cards can be flipped to the side. This one happened to me once in my nearly 300 hours of playtime. That's why I'm using Isaac Craft for the win 1-3's footage. This one's very rare because most of the time Orcs cards just get destroyed. It's pretty cool that if your Orcs card is on the side, you can flip it back by interacting with it. There's a prompt and everything. The fastest way to raise someone's affinity with you is to give them Worm Life crystals as a gift. When wearing the Eternal Bond ring, you need to give them 3 or so pieces for them to fall in love with you. That doesn't work with merchants though, because it seems that they have a cap. Receiving items from players takes time. So I'm in touch with some players who asked for an Eternal Wakestone. I even made a couple of friends and we did some testing. It took some of them 3 to 4 days to receive their Wakestone, and when I asked for berries in return, it took me a whole week to get them. So take note, the items you send out do not disappear, but it takes some time to get them. The next one, Sealing File Escort quests. There's a rumor that when you do an escort quest, you can use Sealing File on the escortee, and then when you bring them to the required location, they automatically pop out of the file without breaking it and initiate this thank you dialogue. Well, that didn't work for me. When I get to the location, I just get a failed escort quest notification and the escortee just stays sealed, stays in a bottle. So if it ever worked, it might have been patched out because it sounds like something that should be patched out anyways. So like I said in the beginning of the video, this is where I need to stop with Dragon's Dogma 2 Overlooked Mechanics videos, I think, because I feel that I'm running out of things to talk about. I mean, I still have a dozen or so more things written down that I could potentially turn into part 5, but are you still interested in watching these? I feel like they gradually become more and more watered down, and I don't want that. Despite loving Dragon's Dogma 2 a lot and wanting to keep talking about the game, I don't really want to milk it for views, and I feel like that's what I'm kind of doing right now. Like, I want to make content that you will enjoy watching and you will engage with and then get the views. I don't want to do it just for the views. Anyways, would you be interested in watching Dragon's Dogma 2 streams, like challenge runs, solo runs, I don't know, no vendors, no merchants runs, randomized loot runs? I hope you enjoy it here in Vernworth. Beautiful city, eh? Let me know in the comments, and of course subscribe to the channel for more Dragon's Dogma 2 content because there's more to come. I'm not done with the game yet. Thanks for watching, see ya.